first people that are known to have settled here was the Kansa Indians in the 1600s, and we know that because the French were exploring this area in the early 1700s, and they found this settlement and wrote about it. And you find it in books later where it was right here, and they had hundreds of people that lived here. And then those Indians were fighting with other Indians, so they eventually moved down the river to try to move away from this area to defend themselves and things like that. And in the middle 1800s, like all these other towns up here, in about the 1850s, this town popped up along the river, like so many other towns have popped up. And this was another one that had a lot of success. There were a couple thousand people here. Railroad came through here when the steamboats started to decline. In that time, the railroads were more important. The railroads came through, and then a big flood in 1881 washed out the railroad. So when they relaid the railroad, they put it a couple miles from here. And so there was really no way to get anything into Doniphan anymore. And I mean, I drove here on multiple dirt roads to get here, so I can imagine if that's what it's like now. It was hard to get things in and out of Doniphan 140 years ago. Kickapoo City, funny name, but interesting history. So Kickapoo is Indian tribe, and those were the people that were here, a couple hundred years ago. And this started, the Kickapoo City started as kind of a combination with Catholic Church and the Kickapoo Indians. And in fact, so this right behind me is a Catholic church, but the first ever Catholic church in the state of Kansas was in Kickapoo in 1836. And so there was a relationship there with the Catholics trying to, connect with the Indians, and that worked for a while. And then they, like seems to always be the case, had issues. And then in the 1850s, like all these other towns, the roaring 1850s, Kickapoo started to become a city of prominence. Kickapoo, especially right after the Civil War, this was a pro-slavery town. And after the Civil War, the kind of population started to wane. Leavenworth was the big city that's close to here, and they started to get more of the work, and gradually people moved to Leavenworth and left Kickapoo. And now there's just a few houses left and the church, and really there's not much else, but still a very beautiful part of Kansas. Our final town on this video is Hickory Point, Kansas. And this is not where Hickory Point was, but right here behind me is a historical marker that tells about the battle at Hickory Point, or the Battle of Hickory Point. And it really wasn't a battle as much as it was a kind of a skirmish. You know, slavery versus anti-slavery people, and they were fighting in the 1850s and 1860s. And so about a half a mile down the road is where that actually happened, where Hickory Point was. Hickory Point, by the way, was in the middle of two roads, basically, in the 1850s, or trails. It was between two forts, Fort Leavenworth and Fort Riley, and so it got a lot of military kind of traffic. And then it was also between Atchison and Topeka on a stagecoach line in between the two. So it was a good location and had good, probably, activity in the 1850s. But then when, you know, those lines and the stagecoaches, you know, we moved on from those things, then the town was abandoned. So it's no longer here, so they put this marker on Highway 59, which is much busier, so more people can see it. But let's see if we can maybe figure out kind of where Hickory Point might have been. It's somewhere down this road. Right in this general vicinity is where Hickory Point would have been. There is absolutely nothing here and now except for just farmland as far as you can see. It's unbelievably beautiful. Even though there's nothing here to look at from the town, you can imagine what, you know, the Native Americans who lived here hundreds of years ago, or the settlers who lived here 150 years ago could have seen in this sky in the Kansas sunset.